Good afternoon, everyone. Bon après-midi, tout le monde. And I first want to acknowledge that we are holding this press conference on the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe people. I also want to acknowledge that I'm joined by some extraordinary colleagues, Minister Lametti to my left, the Attorney General Merrick Garland, and my counterpart, Secretary Mayorkas from the DHS in the United States. Not only great colleagues, but incredible friends. We are marking this occasion as the conclusion of the 2023 Cross-Border Crime Forum. I have to say, it has been a very, very productive day and a little bit. We started some informal meetings last night. I want to take a moment to acknowledge Ambassador Cohen and your entire embassy team for your hospitality last night, for kicking off these discussions in a really good way. And as I said to you last night, I hope to have an update for the President in the not-too-distant future on how the Toronto Maple Leafs are doing, since I know he's paid particular attention to my hometown's team. We have enjoyed a very strong relationship over the past number of years. I will say it has been particularly good to get to know you, Ali. We share a lot in common, obviously being descendants of immigrants, but our professional careers as federal prosecutors and then becoming involved in public life and now getting to work on public safety and matters of national security. The ability to have a steady and very strong collaboration between the two of us, our two teams, has been truly a privilege. And I would say the same thing to you as well, Merrick, getting to know you over the last number of years and all of the work that you and David are doing together on the justice portfolio has been quite remarkable to watch. Je suis ravi d'accueillir mes amis le secrétaire Mayorkas et le procureur général Garland au Canada quelques semaines seulement après la visite historique du président Biden. L'année dernière, le secrétaire Mayorkas et moi-même avons convenu de rétablir le forum sur la criminalité transfrontalière. Ce forum vise à assurer la sécurité de nos deux pays. Il nous permet d'approfondir la coopération sur les questions qui intéressent nos citoyens, ceux qui traversent les frontières et ceux qui ne connaissent pas. Last year, Secretary Mayorkas and I agreed to reestablish the Cross-Border Crime Forum. It was first convened in 1997, but after that, the CBCF lay dormant for a number of years until we, Secretary Mayorkas and I, agreed to put it back to work. We did it because we felt we could strengthen the collaboration on a number of priorities, which I'm going to come to in a moment, on public safety and national security. But we also did it because of the incredible friendship that exists between Canada and the United States. And here again, I want to emphasize how important it is that the people who are here with me on the stage, but equally all of the folks who are behind the cameras, but who work day in and day out on the ground, what an extraordinary job each and every one of you do. And I just want to take a moment to acknowledge your efforts for keeping our two countries safe. It's truly remarkable. And it is through that collaboration and through the convening of this Cross-Border Crime Forum that we're taking that work to the next level. On that front, we've made some significant progress today. You saw us just sign a statement of ongoing partnership and collaboration, but I want to get into the specifics a little bit. Keeping communities safe from gun violence is a top priority for both our government and the Biden administration. To that end, I am very pleased to announce that Canada and the United States have agreed to strengthen the bilateral cooperation to reduce gun violence. This includes 4 new or updated agreements between our law enforcement agencies to combat the smuggling and trafficking of guns across our shared border. We have new or upcoming memoranda of understanding between the CBSA and ATF, the RCMP and DEA, the RCMP and ATF, and the CBSA and DEA. And I'll just take a moment to pause to say that the individuals who were part of the Cross-Border Crime Forum representing each of those agencies are deeply committed to reducing gun trafficking through a number of different areas. And I'm going to describe what that will look like now. It means more joint investigations into gun smuggling and trafficking. It means even more exchanging of intelligence and information between our law enforcement agencies. Importantly, it means making even more progress on the tracing of illegal guns so that we can hold those criminals and organized criminal networks to account. Assurer la sécurité de nos communautés face à la violence armée est une priorité pour nos deux gouvernements. À cette fin, je suis heureux d'annoncer que le Canada et les États-Unis ont convenu d'approfondir leur coopération bilatérale en matière de lutte contre la violence armée. Cela comprend 4 accords nouveaux ou actualisés entre nos agences pour lutter contre le contrebande et le trafic d'armes à feu à travers notre frontière commune. Ces accords renforceront la coopération entre la GRC et l'Agence des services frontaliers du Canada et leurs homologues américaines. Ils approfondiront les partenariats dans la conduite d'enquêtes sur le contrebande et le trafic d'armes, l'échange de renseignements entre les agences et l'amélioration du traçage des armes illégales utilisées pour commettre des crimes. We're also going to tackle the new phenomenon of ghost guns. Ghost guns, which are being produced increasingly by organized crime based on the technology which is fast, cheap, and accessible, which is designed to evade the long arm of the law. We're going to do this through the Cross-Border Firearms Task Force, which works to trace and seize guns used in crime, disrupting smuggling and coordinating joint operations. And I, in particular, want to thank both Ali and Merrick, as well as the folks who were at the table today, for highlighting the advances in technology on both sides of the border that will enable us to go after more of those ghost guns. This is part of Canada's comprehensive plan to tackle gun crime. We always talk about the 3 pillars: strong borders, and I've outlined the collaboration that's going to be strengthened as a result of today's cross-border crime forum. Secondly, strong legislation, and this is led by Bill C-21, and I can assure all Canadians that we are working around the clock to pass that bill, which will implement a national handgun freeze, raise maximum sentences against gun traffickers to 14 years, address the connection between gender-based violence and the presence of guns through red flag and yellow flag laws, and give law enforcement new tools to dismantle organized crime as quickly as possible. And the third pillar is about advancing strong prevention strategies, and that is something, again, that we talked about between our 2 countries in Canada through the Building Safer Communities Fund to reduce barriers and enhance the capacity of local organizations to offer mental health supports and supports for young people who are at risk with greater educational and career opportunities. Nous avons également convenu de prendre des mesures importantes dans plusieurs autres domaines clés. La crise des opioïdes est l'un des pires problèmes de santé publique et de l'histoire récente de nos pays. Aujourd'hui, nous avons convenu d'élargir l'échange de renseignements pour soutenir les enquêtes, perturber la chaîne d'approvisionnement, s'attaquer au financement illégal et collaborer avec les entreprises chimiques. Nous avons également convenu d'approfondir la coopération dans la lutte contre la criminalité organisée, dans notre travail pour protéger les communautés contre les délinquances sexuelles et dans les efforts pour mettre fin au trafic d'êtres humains. What I just said is that we've also agreed to take the next important concrete steps in jointly addressing the opioid crisis, which is, of course, one of the worst public health issues that we have seen in recent history. It has ravaged families and communities on both sides of the border, from big cities to small towns. The human toll is immeasurable. Last month, the Prime Minister and President announced that Canada and the United States will lead a global coalition against these synthetic drugs. Building on this progress today, we agreed to expand intelligence, sharing to support investigations, disrupting the supply chain, particularly around precursors, addressing illegal financing, and engaging and working with those in the industry. As we keep our communities safe from sex offenders, I also want to point out that Canada and the United States will continue to improve information sharing. There are a number of other issues that we also spoke about with regards to human trafficking, anti-money laundering, and of course, our ongoing collaboration in the sharing of information and intelligence when it comes to combating foreign interference to protect our democratic institutions. These are all critical priorities which we have been laser-like focused on, not only for the last day and a bit, but indeed for many years now. And today marks the next significant milestone in that partnership, in that collaboration, and most importantly, in the very strong and unwavering friendship between Canada and the United States. And again, I do want to take a moment to thank you, Ali, Merrick, and of course my colleague David Lametti for your leadership, and again to everybody else who made this opportunity a reality. Thank you. Merci.
Good afternoon, bon après-midi. Like Marco, I begin by acknowledging that we're gathered on the traditional and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. It's a real honor to be here today with Marco, as well as with Attorney General Garland and Secretary Mayorkas. It is clearly the case that we in addition to being colleagues and sharing a number of priorities and principles, we're becoming friends, and I think that's important to underline. I also want to thank Ambassador Cohen for his role in facilitating the positive atmosphere of the last couple of days, as well as everyone who has worked to make this happen. This meeting has been a great opportunity to discuss the complexities of the criminal justice systems on both sides of the border, enhance collaboration on efforts to counter cross-border crime, and make our communities safer. We've also had the opportunity to share our experiences and show our efforts to reform our criminal justice systems and their need to be both fair and effective. Again, these are values that we share with our friends and neighbors in the United States. Importantly, as part of our discussions today, we acknowledge the need to address financial crimes that threaten our economies and put the safety of our communities at risk. Crimes such as money laundering, which often occur across national borders, and which are becoming increasingly complex. De tels crimes permettent souvent de financer d'autres types d'activités criminelles graves, notamment la contrebande des armes à feu, le passage des clandestins et la production et le trafic de fentanyl, des enjeux prioritaires communs qui seront au cœur de nos discussions d'aujourd'hui. We also recognize the increasing use of virtual currencies to enable these crimes and launder their proceeds, as exposed in a recent Financial Action Task Force report. The use of cryptocurrency to fund illegal activities poses serious challenges to our law enforcement and prosecution officials. We agreed that officials on both sides of the border should explore additional opportunities to collaborate and coordinate their efforts to counter the criminal use of virtual assets. Additionally, we discussed the complexities of criminal justice reform and our ongoing efforts to implement more effective, equitable, and inclusive approaches to community safety, to criminal justice, and to law enforcement. We recognize the importance of ensuring that any new law enforcement measures carefully consider their potential impact on groups who are already overrepresented in the criminal justice system. Je suis convaincu qu'ici, au Canada, nous pouvons rendre nos communautés plus justes et plus sécuritaires en travaillant de concert avec les provinces et territoires et l'ensemble des intervenants dans le système de justice. Pour ce faire, il est essentiel que nous nous attaquions aux causes profondes de la criminalité, dont les problèmes de santé mentale, les dépendances et l'itinérance. We do not accept that our important work to addressing systemic racism and discrimination in the criminal justice system is in tension with maintaining public safety. The contrary is true. Fairer, more inclusive communities, communities where everyone can access justice, are safer communities. I'm pleased in the year since our last cross-border forum in Washington, D.C., our respective access to justice offices have been working collaboratively to strengthen confidence in our justice systems. Ensuring access to justice is one of the most pressing issues we face in modernizing and transforming our justice systems. Les obstacles à un traitement équitable devant la loi, sans préjugés ni discrimination, et les inégalités au sein du système de justice pénale nuisent à l'établissement de communautés sûres et sécuritaires. I'm grateful for the close collaboration between various departments and agencies present today. And again, I would like to thank Merrick and Ale for joining us in these very important conversations. Thank you. Merci.
Good afternoon, everyone. I first want to thank our Canadian colleagues and our friends for hosting this cross-border forum. Particularly, I want to thank Minister Mendicino and Lametti for the warm welcome to Ottawa and for the brilliantly sunny day, which will soon devolve into torrential rain, both in Canada and in Washington, D.C., I'm told. Today, we reaffirm the importance of the partnership between the United States and Canada in confronting some of our most urgent challenges. And we affirm the principle underlying that partnership, our mutual respect for the rule of law. The United States and Canada are united in our commitment to addressing the fentanyl epidemic that is devastating families and communities in both of our countries. The Justice Department's Drug Enforcement Administration and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police are stepping up information sharing on precursor chemical and clandestine lab seizures. We are working together to target each stage of the movement, manufacturing, and sale of fentanyl from start to finish. In just one example of that work, in 2021, Canada extradited a defendant to face charges in the United States related to the movement of fentanyl and fentanyl analogs from China for distribution in the United States and Canada. Earlier this week, the Justice Department announced a conviction of that defendant for her role in a large-scale international fentanyl trafficking operation. A number of other defendants have also been charged in that investigation. This case also demonstrates the importance of disrupting the fentanyl precursor supply chain originating in China. As I've said before, the PRC government must take responsibility for its role in this epidemic and stop the unchecked flow of fentanyl precursor chemicals coming out of China. The Justice Department will continue to work together with our partners both here in Canada and in Mexico to combat fentanyl trafficking and to get deadly fentanyl out of our communities. In addition to reaffirming our shared commitment to addressing the fentanyl epidemic, we reiterated the importance of our joint efforts to combating the trafficking in illegal firearms. In another example of our work together, earlier this month, the Toronto Police Service announced the result of Project Moneypenny, a cross-border firearms trafficking investigation. In coordination with other Canadian police agencies and the Justice Department's Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, the ATF, Project Moneypenny resulted in the seizure of 173 illegal firearms in Canada and the United States, as well as 42 arrests. And we are committed to doing even more. Last month, the ATF and Canada's Border Services Agency took an important step forward by signing a new agreement to strengthen information sharing between the two agencies. We have seen time again in our own investigations in the United States that data and information sharing are powerful tools in the fight against gun violence. They enable us to turn evidence collected at crime scenes into the leads that assist in identifying, investigating, and prosecuting those who commit violent crimes. The Justice Department is using every tool at our disposal to combat gun trafficking and hold accountable those who are flooding our communities with illegal guns. That includes putting use of new authorities to prosecute gun traffickers and seize illegal guns. Last year, the United States Congress passed the first major gun safety legislation in nearly 30 years, giving the Justice Department new tools to disrupt gun trafficking networks. Our prosecutors have since charged defendants across the United States with new violation of that anti-trafficking law. As part of our efforts to keep citizens of both our countries safe, we are also investigating the importance of discussing the importance of coordination in our investigation and prosecution of crimes involving digital assets. We discussed how we must work together to crack down on criminal cryptocurrency transactions and take down the online criminal marketplaces that enable them. Finally, we reaffirmed the importance of the principle that unites our countries, adherence to the rule of law. Russia's unprovoked and unjust invasion of Ukraine has demonstrated to all of us the stake we have in the success of democracy. And it has demonstrated to all of us the importance of standing together in the face of efforts to undermine the rule of law upon which both of our governments are based. The United States is committed to holding the Russian regime accountable for its atrocities against the Ukrainian people. We are working together with our Canadian partners in that regard. We look forward to finding more ways to work with all of our international partners, and in particular our Canadian partners, in all of these efforts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Je peux parler seulement un peu de français.
Bravo,
And,
bravo.
Therefore, I will speak with you all just in English. And I'm very proud to be here in Ottawa. This is my first official trip here to Canada in my role as the Secretary of Homeland Security. The work of public safety and public security is work performed by people for people. And it is vitally important when two countries are neighbors that they also be partners. And that is indeed what we are, incredibly close partners with Canada and with the people of Canada and Canada's remarkable representatives. We are more than that, as Minister Mendicino mentioned. We are friends. And not just the four people here who share a friendship, but the people whom we represent are also friends, and that is an extraordinary catalyst in achieving the work that we need to do for our respective communities. I am very grateful to Marco and to David, to Minister Mendicino, Minister Lametti, for hosting us today at this historic Chateau Laurier. We held very, very productive discussions about how we can continue to strengthen our vital partnership. The security and prosperity of North America is a shared responsibility, and we are especially grateful to have such a strong ally and partner and friend in Canada. Our nations are much, much more than just neighbors, as I have referenced. We share our history, culture, interests, and we share, very importantly, democratic values. Canada and the United States also share many of the same challenges, including, as have been mentioned, transnational criminal organizations that profit from financial crimes, weapons trafficking, the distribution of fentanyl in communities across both Canada and the United States. We also tackled today the issue of human smuggling. We share a border that is a catalyst for economic prosperity, trade and travel between our two countries. It also is something that we must secure to ensure that criminality does not in any way encroach upon that prosperity and does not create a vulnerability for our communities. Today's Cross-Border Crime Forum is a continuation of our important work together on the critical issues. Under the 2021 Roadmap for a Renewed U.S.-Canada Partnership, both of our countries committed to invest in the security and protection of our citizens, and President Biden reaffirmed our commitment to this partnership in his visit here last month, which was a tremendous success. Over the last few years, we've advanced a number of important security and cross-border related issues under this framework. We know there is always more work to do in response to the increasingly dynamic and complex threat landscape we together face. We have made great progress on items discussed at last year's forum, such as on the tracing of firearms used in crimes. At today's forum, we agreed to expand intelligence sharing to support interdictions and swift law enforcement action. It is through our work together, through critical engagements like this cross-border crime forum, that we will continue to ensure North America remains secure and prosperous, and our communities and people are protected. Thank you, and thanks to our extraordinary hosts, partners, and friends.
Mr. Mendicino, there's no greater, aside from murder, there's no greater crime than the sexual abuse of children. because they share the names of convicted pedophiles who are coming into Canada, either through cruise ships or airlines. But we do not do the same, and they want that reciprocity. What are you going to do about it? Because the government, I mean, this has been going on for a considerable period of time, so what are you going to do about it? And Mr. Secretary, depending on what he has to say, I invite you to respond to it.
Well, first, this is a very serious issue, and I would say in response, Bob, that our friends in the United States are knocking on an open door. And in the last 2 days, within the last 36 hours, Minister Lametti will correct me, he has introduced legislation through the Senate, which we hope to pass into law, that will take very important and strong steps when it comes to sharing information about those sexual offenders who have been placed on the registry here in Canada with the United States. I want to thank both Secretary Mayorkas and Attorney General Garland for raising this issue. We believe we're on the right track here, but rest assured that the collaboration in keeping both of our countries safe from sexual offenders has never been stronger, and we will continue to take the steps that are necessary legislatively, operationally, to protect both of our peoples from these types of predators.
If I might just add on what Marco said, so in addition, yes, we understand the importance of this issue to the United States, obviously, but I did table in the Senate Bill S-12. Part of that bill includes, it is a bill meant to protect the register of sexual offenders here in Canada and to respond to a Supreme Court decision that struck it down in part. But in addition, we're making it more robust, and two of the provisions that we will add to that, we're proposing to add, are requiring sexual offenders who travel across borders to give a 14-day notice to the RCMP. That, in turn, will be information that might be able to be shared with American border officials or others. And we're also requiring sexual offenders to give an itinerary of places that they are going to go, again, for the same reason.
Glenn McGregor, CTV News. Secretary Mayorkas, we've been hearing for years about joint operations between police in Canada and the United States and interdiction of drugs, human smuggling, or guns. What is different about these memoranda that you've signed today? What is actually going to be done differently that you haven't done in the past, and why weren't you doing it in the past?
So we are perfectly aligned in our objectives when it comes to safety and security of our respective communities. Our law enforcement agencies at the federal level have been working very, very closely, are inextricably intertwined in achieving those objectives. We've been so, and there's always, as the threat landscape proves so dynamic and complex, as changes in that landscape occur, we identify ways in which we can strengthen that partnership and take action. What type of information are we now picking up? Are we now acquiring that we need to address that perhaps we did not pick up a year or two ago? And so this is a very dynamic environment. We respond to the dynamic landscape by dynamism in our law enforcement actions. We had so many federal law enforcement offices and agencies represented in Canada, in the United States today. We have joint task forces. We have shared operations. And it's all about meeting the moment, meeting the changes that occur, and addressing them in real time, sharing actionable, relevant information in real time, and that's what we achieved over the last day and a half.
I just add to that, I agree with everything that Secretary Mayorkas just said. To put this into clear terms, the MOUs that we have renewed and the ones that we are going to renew between the RCMP, CBSA, DEA, and CBP will allow us to leverage new technology that has recently emerged that will allow us to go after ghost guns in particular. And this is a type of technology that is specifically designed for criminals to evade being detected. And with some of the technologies that have recently emerged on both sides of the border through this memorandum of understanding, we can now go after those ghost guns and trace them. In addition to that, I think, as you heard Secretary Mayorkas say, given the alignment, we're going to be able to trace these guns more quickly. Over the last number of years, we have reduced some of the backlogs. The RCMP have made extraordinary progress, increasing their tracing capacity by 250%. And all this partnership does is it allows us to build on that progress, going after some of the more pernicious problems when it comes to gun violence at our borders.
Unfortunately, I've just been informed that our guests have to leave a little early, so that concludes the press conference. Merci tout le monde.
Unless either of you would like to ask about, to talk about Haiti, just given the implications that this can have for guns, for gangs across our continent, I think Haiti is pretty important to this. I'm just wondering if you've raised the crisis in Haiti, the need for an intervention. This is for the Americans who are visiting. Attorney General Garland, did you raise this? Secretary
yes.
Mayorkas? And what did you
Yes, we discussed Haiti. Yes, we discussed sharing of information about what was happening there. Yes, we discussed the Haitian National Police and the methods we could use to bolster their effectiveness, both with respect to equipment and with respect to training. And we recognize the terrible human crisis that is occurring in Haiti right now.
Yeah, I would just add to that. I know the question was for our American colleagues, but we did have a good conversation last night about it, and this builds on the announcement that was made during the bilateral visit that President Biden participated in just a little while ago. We're going to continue to work with the people of Haiti and focus on doing what we can to help stabilize the Haitian National Police. That is work that, again, we are completely aligned on, and we'll continue to work very closely together so that we can try to stabilize things in Haiti.
And one important addition as well, if I may, which is to the point that the Attorney General made with respect to the humanitarian issues in Haiti. We are working together to ensure that individuals who need to leave Haiti do so in a safe, orderly, and lawful way. I spoke yesterday, or the day before yesterday, with Minister Fraser. It is vital that individuals seek lawful pathways and do not take to the seas. We see too much loss of life when people seek to migrate irregularly on the seas, and it is vitally important, which is why our two countries are indeed dedicated to safe, orderly, and lawful pathways.
Will you be only tracing guns at the border, the intercepted at the border?
I'll take this last one. Sorry, go ahead,
Will you
Ashley.
only be tracing guns intercepted at the border, and why not do more to encourage law enforcement across the country to be tracing guns that are actually used in crimes?
Well, that's exactly what we are doing. So the forum today allowed us to concretize new memorandums of understanding that will allow us to increase capacity around tracing, especially around ghost guns, which are becoming more pervasive. But as I said, the progress that has been made by domestic law enforcement, including the RCMP, shows that we're also focused very much on tracing guns here in Canada. And I'll just say in conclusion, because I know our guests do have to go, and maybe in part because of the weather forecast, that this is exactly what a good partnership and friendship looks like. It's bringing together different branches of law enforcement and national security, and not only with the folks here, but everybody in this room and among the agencies who do extraordinary work in keeping both of our countries safe. And I want to thank our guests again. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.